What are the chances, right? What are the chances Shedeur Sanders somehow beats out Deshaun Watson for the starting quarterback role? Slim to none? Is it a 50-50 chance? Or is it an 80%, 90% chance that Shedeur Sanders actually beat Deshaun Watson out for the starting role as the quarterback, as QB1? Either way it goes, if Shedeur does beat Deshaun Watson, I believe it will be a hard decision to make for the first time head coach in the NFL. I don't think Todd Monken has the guts to name Shedeur Sanders the starter day one for the start of the regular season. That's a very hard task for a first-time head coach to pull when you have a 8-year vet making a ton of money. You understand? If Shedeur shows he deserves to be the starter, I can see Todd Monken second-guessing himself. Like, what decision makes the most logical sense for him to stay in good standings with the owners? That would be his decision. That's my guess. Browns Insider reveals how Shedeur Sanders has narrowed the gap with Deshaun Watson in the QB1 battle. It said while it appeared for much of the offseason program that Deshaun Watson had the edge over Sanders based on his superior athleticism and experience. Sanders seemed to have narrowed the gap the past couple of weeks with his grasp on the playbook and increased efficiency in practice, Cabot wrote. Rather than having a set idea about his quarterback by the end of minicamp, there seems to be a shift in Todd Monken's thinking. By the final week of OTAs, Todd Monken hedged on having his quarterback depth chart set coming out of minicamp and might hold off to naming or even determining his quarterback one until sometime during training camp. That's big ups to Shedeur Sanders right there. Todd Monken been stated that he wanted to make his decision on the quarterback earlier rather than later. And all that meant that he was going to go with Deshaun Watson. But as far as Deshaun Watson being more athletic and having the experience, those were exactly my thoughts why Deshaun Watson would easily win this battle. Deshaun Watson, athleticism along with his ability to get the ball down the field, gave Watson the better chance at winning the job, right? But like I said before, Deshaun Watson just doesn't look the same throwing the football like he once was or like he once did in Texas. I mean, he looked like he was the next thing coming in Houston. Then boom, all the distraction, all the craziness started to happen and so on and so forth. I could see Shedeur being a much, much more accurate passer than Deshaun Watson, right? I can see him being a much more accurate passer than Deshaun Watson at this point in their careers. Accuracy wins unless a quarterback has exceptional running ability. Accuracy will win all day because the point for quarterbacks is to get the ball down the field. Get the ball down the field. Now, what did Mary Cabot say? What did Mary Cabot say? Shedeur is closing the gap by getting the grasp on the new playbook much faster than the competition. Now, if you remember, during the draft process about a year ago, Shedeur Sanders was blasted by the New York Giants staff for not being prepared and slow to understand a play installation package or something to that extent, right? Shedeur Sanders was getting blasted. How easily we forget the past. I just think it's crazy that coaches want to control the narrative because they have issues and feelings and character flaws of not being fair in their evaluation process. So they have to create narratives so they don't look like the bad guy or the person that's not making the right decision for their team. You know, and I think that's exactly what happened to Shedeur Sanders. How easily we forget. But it's too early for Todd Monken to understand what he's dealing with as a head coach with new quarterbacks, you know? But he has to make a decision sooner rather than later. For the New York Giants, too bad, so sad. Shedeur could have saved Brian Daboll's job if he didn't attack Shedeur Sanders for the same reasons he's being praised for by his new head coach. He's closing the gap because he's understanding play installation, playbook, the new playbook, the new terms, and so on and so forth. And he's also getting the ball down the field, getting the ball out of his hands. New York Giants pass on Shedeur Sanders due to private workout preparations. Ahead of the draft, McShay revealed that his sources said that the Giants sent Sanders a binder to prepare for their private workout. Sanders showed up to the workout without studying the binder, which did not go over well with the Giants. Shedeur is not in play with the New York Giants, as far as I'm told. Shedeur did not have a great interview with Brian Daboll in the private visit, McShay said. An install package came in. Preparation wasn't there for it. Got called out on it. Didn't like that. Brian Daboll didn't appreciate him not liking that. Now, that just sounds crazy in itself. He got called out, didn't like it. And Brian Daboll didn't like that. He didn't like getting called out. Just so petty and so immature that a narrative they tried to control on Shedeur Sanders. You know what I mean? It's always someone that just going to just make bad decisions, man. That's just my opinion. They could be right. He could be clearly right. He gave him a play installation package and Shedeur Sanders screwed it up. But at the same time, how much does that really affect who that person is as a quarterback? How good they could play the position? Is he better than all the other prospects at the position in the draft? Don't just make your decision based off, play installation, And but at the same time, now this is serious. This is serious right here. At the same time, there are a ton of coaches that's been around who aren't too fond of coaching black quarterbacks. That's just the truth. It's been that way since day one, and it's been a fight ever since day one to get black quarterbacks into the NFL and become starters. So there's still some lingering coaches who still have that feeling of the old coaching ways of we don't want a black quarterback. So I'm not saying that they won't coach black quarterbacks, but it would have to be a last option for some of these coaches to choose a black quarterback to come be the starting quarterback for their team. Now, for Brian Daboll, it would have been better off if he just came out telling us exactly how he felt. If he felt intimidated from drafting Shedeur Sanders, if he didn't like Shedeur Sanders' confidence, he was too confident of a guy to play on his team. He can't coach confident that confident of a man. And whatever else may have affected his decision from drafting Shedeur Sanders. If he was intimidated by the dad, he just came out and told us. But from the beginning of this quarterback competition, on paper, Deshaun Watson sounds like the right pick to go with at quarterback based on his athleticism and experience. I just don't see Watson as a quarterback that could prepare your team or take your team to the next level anymore based on what we recently saw from him in OTAs and things like that, or even last year with him passing the football. Now, I do believe the play calling and the type of offense Cleveland ran in last year and the year before that, and the play calling, all of that stuff wasn't ideal, Yeah. The play calling and the offense wasn't ideal for Shedeur Sanders, Deshaun Watson, Dylan Gabriel, anybody, Joe Flacco. So quarterbacks had a hard time in that offense. And yes, they struggle. I think Shedeur Sanders will play with much more confidence than Deshaun Watson, which will lead to the coach to make a tough decision that is best for the team. But let's check Shedeur Sanders out, speaking with beat writers and things like that about the upcoming season and what they can expect from him.
I feel like the Browns fans, they just want something to hope for, and they've been wanting it so long. So finally, I'm here to change that. I'm here to, actually give what they want.
Salute to Shedeur. Yes, definitely. Give them what they want, man. But Shedeur, man, it sounds like a man who is confident that he will prevail and deliver for the Cleveland Browns and the Brown community. But I'm starting to think Todd Monken was speaking on Deshaun Watson and not Shedeur when he complained about these quarterbacks throwing interceptions during the 7-on-7 drills. No pass, no tackling, no defensive lineman, no offensive lineman. And yeah, I feel the same way. And it's like I've complained before about Donovan McNabb. When no one's out there covering receivers, you should be 100%, 99.9% when it comes to passing the football. And it was times where Donovan McNabb was throwing the ball in the dirt and things like that, and it was just them out there. We're supposed to be professional, the best of the best. So I understand where Todd Monken is coming from when he's upset and speaking on his players throwing the ball, throwing interceptions in 7-on-7 and things like that. And I don't think he would get on Shedeur Sanders as much as he would get on Deshaun Watson for making those mistakes in the 7-on-7.